what Architect has just shown is a very practical approach to try to really get your arms and get your minds around the very large problem of visualizing before you digitalize your entire organization. If you're going to take a holistic approach, then you really do have to be able to see everything in context. You have to be able to see all of your business processes. You have to see all of your technology that's in place. You have to be able to see the gaps and the jams, just as Mark has already described. And in particular, I think that what it really allows you to do is to understand and accept that digitalizing the entirety of your organization, all your businesses, all your processes, all your assets, doesn't have to be done in one bite. That's probably impossible, but as long as you've got something like Architect's approach with this canvas that allows you to see the whole thing, you can actually take it step by step, assuring that everything is landing where it's meant to land as you proceed. Now, if we now boil this down a little bit more into the space that AVEVA occupies, and we talk about the digital transformation for owner-operators in an industrial setting. So Mark showed, the map of the organization example that he gave earlier, where there are elements of capability and technology provided by AVEVA. And so we're going to dive now a little bit deeper into that part, recognizing that most of our customers are indeed operating in the industrial space, either as owner-operators or EPCs and service providers to owner-operators. So just a quick reminder of how the world has changed. I'm going to go past this again, but it's just to reset our thinking around the requirements of being an industrial operator, being in the industrial space, and how we now need to think about operating in the future. Now, part of this is that we already recognize the areas in which the digital twin approach can impact business profitability and workforce efficiency. We've got a lot of examples, but for example, coming to this NIST study up in the top right, talking about the cost of poor asset information, equating to up to 1.5% of sales revenue per annum. That is a very large number for something that can be attributed to just poor asset information. Still to this day, a direct client experience, 40% of maintenance-related man hours is spent looking for information and validating it, rather than actually executing maintenance-related work. So we have lots of examples like, sorry?
Yeah, Amit, I'm just noticing several questions arising, suggesting that the slide is not moving forward. I think you might have to reshare, yeah?
That's interesting. Let me reshare. 1 second. Unexpected.
Oh, yes, we're good. We're good.
Okay, fine. So first of all, thanks to the audience for highlighting that. As a person speaking, I can't see it, but in our new virtual experience, we all have to help one another. So we do actually have a poll. Let's get through this quickly here. So if we can just pull up the poll, I'm interested to see from the audience where they see the potential impact on digital transformation in their business. So we'll just leave that on the screen for a few seconds and give the audience the chance to respond. It's always very interesting to see the different perspectives of where digital transformation is going to yield results, or is expected to yield results in our client organizations. So we'll just hang here for a few seconds, give Zoom a chance to catch up with us before we move on. Okay, I'm just going to move to the next slide while we wait for that poll result to appear. Because of course, the AVEVA approach is to leverage all of these technologies. Oh, here we go. Asset performance management. So this is a clear winner in amongst the categories that we showed here. I'm perhaps not surprised because, of course, most of our audience today, I believe, are from industrial owner operators, and asset performance management is a key concern area, and one that also impacts all other important areas of operation and commercial operations. So this is not too surprising. It is important to see that, though, because I think that it is often easy, again, to think about APM as being something that exists in a silo. And of course it doesn't, because what happens with your assets and how they are operated, how reliably they operate, how efficiently they operate, impacts all other aspects of your business. So I think in fact, what it does is highlight the importance of taking the holistic approach. So in the interest of time, I'm going to move beyond here. And we move to the next section about how fundamentally the importance of information management across the life cycle in order to build a digital twin. So I'm just going to hang on this slide here for a second. There is a perception that the digital twin is the physical plant. And indeed, when you're working in an industrial owner-operator side, and you are in a role that's related directly to industrial operations or in fact engineering, it's often easy to think about the digital twin as being just the physical plant. Of course, Mark has shown that the digital twin can be actually your organization in its entirety. For us in AVEVA, and actually this is very relevant to the issue of APM that we just saw in the previous poll, it's the behavior of the physical plant and all of the assets that comprise it that are important. And not only does that show you that it is not just a static thing and it's not just a engineering 3D model thing, but it's also something that talks about how your plant, all of your assets change over time, how the operations ebb and flow over time and react to the decisions that are taken. So the dimension of time is very important. And in that context, we talk about how does a digital twin for a major complex organization come to play its role in between all of these sort of silos of data and documents. So this is an example at a very high level of an approach that we took with a customer recently. In these complex organizations, understandably, a lot of the interfaces of information, of data, have grown organically out of need, out of people who are working in one part of the organization, recognizing that they need to get data, share information, collaborate with people working in another part of the organization. This is the kind of thing that can lead to the technology jams, for example, that Mark showed on his example digital canvas earlier. But of course, this becomes not only an administrative and management headache from day to day, it also becomes an inhibitor. It becomes a constraint. It becomes an obstacle to digitally transforming your business, which is why that the ability to map it out and see it all in one place is so important if you then want to then move to the situation that we show on the right-hand side, which is you put the digital twin in the middle of all of these interactions and enable quality decision-making and data-centric workflows. From the AVEVA perspective, again, focusing on the industrial side of things, we recommend starting with an attempt to measure yourself in terms of your digital twin maturity. When it comes to industrial operations, we define, as an example, a digital twin with 4 levels based around 6 essential capabilities that you need in order to run industrial operations off the back of a digital twin. And again, where exactly you start on this and where exactly you want to end up is down to individual circumstances. But again, it's seeing the big picture and it's seeing the road forward. But at the center of it, indeed, is the asset. And the asset in context is ultimately the enabler of whether or not you have a successful digital journey. So I'm going to just move through a little bit here quickly to the concept of the digital twin in the Capex phase. So we've talked about how important it is throughout the asset lifecycle. But an important point that people often miss out when it comes to industrial operations across the life cycle is that the digital twin actually connects the engineering side with the OpEx side. And so although it's very clear to us, I think if you're on the engineering side, how you exploit the digital twin during Capex phase, here are some examples. We often forget that it moves beyond engineering to enabling things such as engineering and construction. But this is a key thing. I talked about the element of time, and I talked about how the digital twin is actually something that needs to be able to support you across your life cycle. In very quick terms, our traditional approach leads to a situation that's shown by this red curve, which is information, data quality and completeness during the project lifecycle that never quite meets a position or level of trust, and which then continues to go through cycles of degradation and improvement during the asset operations lifecycle, with all of the inefficiencies that that implies. These asset data rejuvenations are costly and ineffective because there is no system, there is no agreed central repository of truth that everybody can refer to. So what we try to do from AVEVA is enable a situation where through a digital twin, both on the project execution side, which then serves as the core of the digital twin on the operations side, we try to alleviate that problem and remove the sources of inefficiency that come as a result of that. Again, this is a holistic approach, but with time and the life cycle as being the characteristic that you're trying to be holistic over. So in the interest of time, we have some questions. I'm going to blow through this a little bit. Again, I think talking about the digital twin as being the central source consolidating data. It enables this real-time data investigation. So when we talk about APM as being a key area, this is one of those areas where the digital twin can really have impact in terms of visualizing what's happening, visualizing and enabling collaboration of the real-time data that's coming from assets, supporting the connected worker. This is addressing some of the issues that we talked about, how the need to deploy workforce, deploy labor, and to change the composition and competencies of that workforce over time, how that's supported through a digital twin as well. And then, of course, ultimately building that all up to this visualization and collaboration that cuts across the enterprise. And that's where the digital twin of the organization that Mark talked about is a real enabler. We have tremendous examples of this. I'm going to run through this again very quickly. But we have on the Capex side, owner operators who have cut their early engineering time on a major capital project in half. We have world-class EPCs delivering 3D models on a challenging brownfield project 200% faster. We have complex new petrochemical plants in a completely new region where this particular process never was operated before, being brought up to spec and being brought up to full capacity in less than half the time. We have global oil and gas operators who are now able to take their essential crude and feed refining optimization planning from hours to minutes. And of course, the example that I shared earlier of a major regional operator unlocking $1 billion worth of value. One thing that taking the holistic approach also does is it allows you to connect your entire organization from the edge all the way up to the highest levels of the enterprise, really connecting the digital with the physical. And this is what enables you to be both more resilient and be smarter. We talked about poor or untimely decision-making as being a major contributor to reduced profits. And this will enable you to operate in a way that a human being operates in terms of our unique ability to both think long-term and take complex decisions, solve complex problems, while at the same time ensuring all of our basic functions are just automatically happening.